everyone. We are live on Facebook. Nice to see everyone. Hi, Kelly. Thank you for coming
Hi.
on board.
Thank you for
Hi.
having me.
Happy Sunday to everyone watching all over the world. And today is the 11th episode of My Child Has Down Syndrome. So what? Today with me, I have Kelli Caughman. Am I right with the pronunciation?
Kaufman.
Kaufman, yeah,
Yes.
from Indiana, and she's the mom of three beautiful children. With Cree,
Yes.
diagnosed with Down syndrome. Cree is 4 years old, and I'm just gonna turn it over to you, Kelly.
Okay.
Just can you please introduce yourself? Thank you for coming here today on the
Yeah.
series. My child has Down syndrome. So what? Can we meet you, Kelly?
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Kelli Caughman. And before I get started, I just want to say thank you, Tola, for inviting me to this platform. I love all the work that you are doing in your community all over the world. And I love that we've made a connection so that I can always reach out to you and help connect moms that I do come in contact that may be living in Africa. And that's kind of how we met over the internet as well. So just thank you again for that. But I'm Kelli Caughman. I have three children. I have a 14-year-old. My middle child, Cree, is 5, and he has Down syndrome. And then I have a 4-year-old. I We just recently moved back to Indiana. We're originally from South Carolina. My husband just got out of the military, so moving back to Indiana, and then with COVID and everything, it's been a journey. But we have been linking back up with the Down syndrome community here. I'm very active in the Down syndrome community online, but it's also important to me where I live to be connected with agencies that are, doing great things for the Down syndrome community. So that's how I am.
Wow, wow. Kelly, I know you're doing a lot of work like, for the Down syndrome community and in the Down syndrome community in America. And I think I met you, yeah, it was through your network, your
Mhm.
the black
Black
families or
families.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you just tell us about your birth story? Can you tell us
Yeah.
about Cree's birth story briefly
Yes.
about Cree's
Yes.
diagnosis?
Yep. So I was 37 weeks. I was 27 years old. Um 37 weeks. I went in just for an ultrasound because at my previous ultrasounds I had been measuring ahead of time. So she said, "Let's just, get one more ultrasound just to see how big he is because I was going to have a C-section."
Wow.
So all before, there was no talks of Down syndrome, no talks of anything, just a perfectly healthy baby in pregnancy. So there were no complications along the way. But at that appointment, my nurse practitioner came in and she said really quickly, your son or your ultrasound shows that something is wrong with placenta. I can't even think of the word now.
Wow.
She was like, "Don't even look it up. Don't Google it. Don't worry about it." She tried to downplay it and she kind of just tried to leave the room. And I was just like, "Hold on. Like, what is this? Oh, a dilated umbilical cord. That's what it was called," that she said. And I was like, "Well, what is this?" And she was like, "Don't worry. I'm going to have you go see another doctor, maternal fetal medicine." And she said, "But in the meantime, don't look up anything. Don't worry. Everything's going to be okay." So for like 2 or 3 days, I'm like looking up what that means because I was like, a dilated umbilical cord? What is that? And why are you guys just now seeing this? Because I was scheduled to have Cree the very next week, which I ended up anyway. So I go to my appointment with maternal fetal medicine. I get another ultrasound. But before I even go to the ultrasound room, they ask me, like, "Do you know why you're here?" And I tell them yes. They said, I have a dilated umbilical cord. And they were like, "Really? Who told you that?" And I said, "Well, that's what, the nurse told me." So right away, that was like a red flag to say, something is up. They're telling me one thing, but these doctors are acting as if they're surprised that I'm coming here to look at a dilated umbilical cord. So, we go through the ultrasound. The ultrasound tech leaves, and the doctor comes in, and he just right away he says, "Hi, Miss Caughman. I'm Dr. So and so. I read your ultrasound, and I believe that your son has Down syndrome. And I
What?
believe that because he has this, this, and this." So we saw duodenal atresia, which is something that has to do with the colon. We saw a heart issue. So, and he was just like, these are factors of Down syndrome. So he
Hmm.
said we could have an amniocentesis and we can find out 100% if your
At
son
37
has Down syndrome.
weeks?
Say it again.
At 37 weeks?
Yes. At 37 weeks, I was going to have Creed the next week. So he said you can do it now, and if you have it, we were in a hospital, so he said if you have it, sometimes it can make you go into labor, but that will be okay because we could just go right downstairs and do it, or you can wait and have Creed, and we can see and then do the testing later. I said, well, let's just go ahead and do it. So that same day, I got the amniocentesis, got the results back super fast, like faster than many other people have ever gotten them back. I was like, well, I got mine back kind of fast. I actually got them back right before I had Cree, but that same day, my husband was in the Army and he was away in Georgia. So he wasn't there with me, and nobody else lived here except his aunt and uncle. I called them and said, can you guys come up to the hospital with me? We sat down that same day with the geneticist. They told me all about Down syndrome, even though I had known what Down syndrome was because I was a teacher at the time. So
Oh,
I had experience. I never had a child with Down syndrome in my class, but I had that experience of talking to people with Down syndrome, just generally being around them in a school environment. So I knew what Down syndrome was. I feel like I was in such a shock. Like I remember initially crying for a minute, but I feel like I was more shocked that they found out so late versus
wow.
that it was Down syndrome. That didn't really bother me. It was the fact like, how can you find out so late? But working in the Down syndrome community, I've realized that some people don't even know that their kid will be born with Down syndrome until they're born. And some people find out late, just like me. But I had Cree the next week, no complications or anything. We already knew in advance he had the heart issue and duodenal atresia, so we had that repaired. And we were probably in the NICU for about 3 weeks after he was born. And since then, Cree has been doing great. He's had some struggles along the way. At certain times, there were, like, for instance, a lot of our children with Down syndrome have hypotonia. So um,
Yeah.
he didn't walk as fast as, a typically developing child would. And there were times that I always knew he would walk, but I was like, "Ugh, it's just going to take forever, like, so we got him a walker, and he had therapists. He was getting speech therapy, and they also helped him with feeding because he had a G tube. He got physical therapy and occupational therapy. So he had a walker, and then that he would practice with his therapist. And then through our insurance, we were able to get another walker. And as we got this other walker, he started walking like we didn't even have it a month. It was just amazing. But I really, soon as Cree was born, he was already in 3 therapies right away. We were working with him, trying to build up his muscles and ensure that he got stronger, because that was like one of our main concerns. So, a lot of times parents are, focused on what their child can't do. And I know that's hard sometimes, but I always try to encourage people just to look to the future. Even at Cree at 5, I'm starting to look to the future about what will he do in middle school, what will he do in high school, instead of just limiting our minds right now. Because our kids are going to walk, they are going to talk, they are going to eat, they are going to do those things. They're just going to do them on their own time. And I personally don't like really rush Cree. I've learned to kind of just go with the flow, accept things how they are. Dealing with his diagnosis wasn't really hard for me because as soon as I found out, I was connecting with my local Gigi's Playhouse, which is a Down syndrome organization. And now, currently, I am on their board. So that was like a full circle moment. And then now I'm also working with the Down Syndrome Diagnosis Network, which really has a huge impact on our Down syndrome community, especially in the earlier years. One of the things I love about DSDN is that we have a huge medical component where we have volunteer parents and community members that are attending medical conferences, getting the word out about Down syndrome and teaching them how to deliver a non-biased diagnosis, because many times we hear horror stories from our families telling us how the information was presented to them. So that's one thing that DSDN wants to change.
Wow. Ah, Kelly,
That's a lot,
amazing.
right?
I know. Yeah. From when you talked about the G tube, and about the heart surgery, did he get heart surgery done?
Yes, he got his heart surgery at about, I want to say he was 8 months. Yeah, he was 8 months. That was, whoa, that was an experience. That I was DSDN has over 52 subgroups on Facebook. So there are Facebook groups for Black families, for children that have heart issues, for children that wear glasses, for children that or just have all these different medical needs. There's a group for school. So there was a heart group that I joined when I found out that Cree had heart issues, and I was able to see children and parents, and they were talking about their experience. So I feel like I was a little bit prepped for it. He was in the hospital for 8 days. We were in and out within 8 days. I was so amazed the day after he had his surgery. I felt like he was already doing better, which a lot of people say that you will notice an immediate difference once they have the surgery. And before the surgery, Cree was just a little tired when he was eating. I would notice, and that's one of the signs. If Because I've seen some moms say that they didn't know their kid had a heart issue, or their heart issue wasn't really prominent at the time when they did know about it. But that's one of the signs that, if you fatigue, I'm trying to feed Cree. He's just getting so tired that he's not even eating a lot. So we, after the heart surgery, he did so much better. But he's never orally had enough food. So he continues to eat from the G tube. We've done feeding therapy, and that really works well. But now with COVID, that's on pause. So we're hoping to get back into that in the new year, because I think that's something that really helps Cree. And now that he's in preschool and he has a 4-year-old brother, he sees other children modeling things that he could be doing. So, for instance, if his brother or somebody at his school is eating little goldfish, he doesn't need a whole bunch. He'll take 2 or 3 and he'll put it in his mouth, and he's working on chewing. So he wants to, model that behavior. So I'm encouraging those kind of things. I'm not trying to force things down his throat, because I know that he's going to eat one day. And another thing I really love about our community is just meeting different moms. There was one mom in particular. She encouraged me about Cree and his walking. She showed me pictures of her son on using a walker and not being able to walk till now. I'm just like, I can't even believe it's the same person. This same mom, her son was also on a G tube for years, just like Cree. And now I'm looking at her son and I'm like, wow. But these are the great things about DSDN's different subgroups, and just being connected with other families that are going through the same things as you, because they can give you that insight that other moms can't really relate to. So I just really love that, because you never know what you're going to go through. You never know what you're going to face, and just having the opportunity to be able to connect with all those different moms about different things is just super great in our community.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so
Mhm.
much, Kelly. Wow, I really, really have been so blown away by most of the things you've said. You've hit some notes here. I'm gonna take you up on the G-tube stuff you mentioned, because
Yeah.
that is not common in Nigeria, but I
Mm.
know that it's common with children with cerebral palsy here in
Okay.
Nigeria. Um, I know that, for the most part, some of our kids will likely need the G tube. For
Mhm.
instance, they're having issues like failure to thrive and they're, not eating well
Yes.
or not able to swallow. Can you just
Mhm.
enlighten us more about the G tube feeding?
Yeah, so Cree orally just with hypotonia, he didn't have the muscular strength in his mouth. He also had the heart issue, and those two things combined made it very, very hard for him to eat. So once he had the G tube placed, we were able to, make sure he's getting nourishment that way. You can get an NG tube, which I think is like through the nose, but he has the
Yeah.
G tube, which is in the belly. So he got like a little small one. I feel like it's pretty easy. At the time, I want to say my daughter was around 8 when Cree was born, and she was even able to do it, and she still does it to this day. She loves helping us feed Cree, but you can still give breast milk, any kind of formula. Now that he's older, you can blend up food. We purchase our food through our insurance through a company that makes ready-made food. So like we have sweet potatoes and chicken. So he's getting really good nourishment, although it's not, through his mouth. We're just working on those things. But the G tube right now is probably our main goal. That's one of the things that we really want to accomplish with Cree because if you're not familiar, when you're not eating, that can affect your speech as well. And he has shown great improvement in speech. I think that's because he has a younger brother, and they're to me they're kind of like developmentally on the same level. But he also was going to school, and he's able to see what his peers are doing. So when he sees them playing and talking, he just models and does what they do. Um, but that's our main goal with Cree that we really want him to succeed in next is feeding, because we know that if he is feeding orally, that those are going to strengthen his muscles in his face, and he's going to have better speech in the long run. The G tube
Yeah.
doesn't hurt him. He's very comfortable with it. Like I said, he's had it ever since he was born, and he's 5 years old. So he's had it for 5 years of his life. So it's really kind of all he knows, which is another reason that it's kind of a struggle for him. But I did want to ask you something because you brought it up. In Africa, you said the G tube is not really prominent. But do they have them? Like, do you see kids with G tubes?
No,
You don't? Hmm. That's
no,
so. Do you
because
do? What do they do with kids that may be failure to thrive or just not
so
eating a lot?
what is common over here in Nigeria is that your baby is not able to latch on at
Hmm.
birth. Hypotonia affects
Yeah.
practically every muscle.
Yeah.
That it depends on the how profound it is. And what
Hmm.
happens over there is they just encourage you to use a spoon to feed the baby milk.
Mm.
And then you see that most of our babies there are not gaining weight,
Yeah.
you know, coupled with the fact that they have a heart disease going on, and then it's so crazy you have the failure to thrive,
Hmm.
then really can get to fix the heart disease like right on time.
Yeah.
you know for the most part in Nigeria, for the most part we have to raise funds, we have to go to India for heart
Mhm.
surgery, though there are few hospitals right now that are able to do the heart surgeries. But what I see that is so common and it's so annoying is that most times the doctors say if your baby cannot latch on because of hypotonia, or the baby gets tired easily, what is common is they say you just spoon feed the baby with milk. And how much is
Mm.
that is the baby gonna get?
Yeah.
I think that is pathetic, right, Kelly?
Yeah. It is. It
Because
is.
I know quite a number of families in the US that have kids with Down syndrome, and I know some of them are still on the G tube or the NG.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And what I was gonna like ask is that, for how long do you think a child needs to be on the G tube? Like, because right now you say you're struggling with winning him off the G tube. So for
Hmm.
how long do you think I mean he needs it? What, and what, apart from him not being able to eat well, what is the other main goal? Because I know that the article is responsible for speech, even include our abdominal muscles.
Mm-hmm.
tongue, the cheek, the teeth, everything responsible for speech. And if
Yes.
hypotonic is affecting all of that, I know that some chewing exercises, different
Mm-hmm.
textures of food is going to help a great deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
From you saying that he's been able to pick, from peers and from his younger brother, how do you think a child can, cope, especially if a child has Down syndrome and has other comorbidity issues like autism? How do you think the child is going to be able to like get wind of like easily, or what are the things we should like help the child to achieve while using the GTO?
So I feel like, a lot of children, most children are all different. There are some commonalities and things that every one of them can do, but some people are just going to reach them all at a different time. And I think it also has to do with your family dynamic. I see a lot of times people, just some common things that come up is the frequency of therapies. Here in America, most people get three therapies. They get speech therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy. So they're having to work and they're having to go this and there and that. So sometimes therapy isn't put placed as a priority because they're like, I have to work. And then you will also find a lot of times in our community that the parents don't work or a parent doesn't work because of all of these therapies that are going on. I know for us in the beginning, I felt like Cree was making so many strides, and then maybe about age three, he kind of came to a halt. And all of his therapists told me that they felt like sometimes you have to prioritize another therapy over the other. So, like for instance, after Cree started walking, um, they were like, let's do the feeding therapy. They didn't want him to like do the feeding therapy and the PT at a certain point. In the beginning, he was, but I feel like you gotta have to just find what works for you. For me, I think that I do think Cree could have been eating earlier. I think we just had a lot going on. I would say consistency is really good because I know people that had a G-tube for 1 year and then they were fine. They got off. I know people that same age as Creed, they're just now getting off of it. The mom that I shared with you earlier, her son was about 5 or 6 when he finally got off. Here in America, you can have the speech therapist come if you do like once a week, but then you can also have something called intensive therapy. And that's really what we want for Cree. It's where you would go every day for a couple of hours and they'll feed them like breakfast and lunch. And, just they work with not only the student, but they also work with the parent as well. But I think
Yeah.
consistently offering them things, brushing teeth is a big one. Creed he did not like brushing his teeth in the beginning, but that is a great oral stimulant. Massaging their faces constantly. It's really kind of, when your kid is younger, it's really up to the parent, honestly, to encourage them to do things. A lot of the therapists say this: when you go to the gym and you're working out, you're going to get tired, right? So the
Mhm.
kids, when you're massaging them and stimulating them and making them do physical therapy and PT and OT and all the different therapies, they're going to get tired. That doesn't mean that those things aren't good for them, but you have to do it. So it's going to take the mom and the child working together. But because we're the adults, we have to prioritize certain things, I feel, to make sure that our kids are successful. And then sometimes I do think you're going to just put certain things to the side so that you can focus on one thing. Um, but there are different tools. Like Cree has this little vibrating pen that his therapist recommended. It looks kind of like a toothbrush, but it vibrates. And at first, you just kind of vibrate on their face and see how much they can take. It kind of just moves those muscles for them. Then you can move it into the mouth. And they also said, like, if you couldn't afford this tool, you could use like a vibrating toothbrush, something that vibrates, but
Are you
preferably the
talking about the
toothbrush.
Z Vibe?
Yeah, like the Z Vibe. Yes. Yeah. But if you can't afford a Z Vibe, you could use just an electric toothbrush, like a kid's one, and just put it on their face, put it inside their mouth, all around just to kind of stimulate. Playing little games with straws, like making them suck up something very light and blowing it out. Those were
Hmm.
things that I was really shocked by that really works. But as long as you're working out those muscles, they build strength for sure.
Oh, sorry, I lost you for a minute.
Oh, did you hear the
Yeah,
last thing I said was like if you're practicing things with straws, like blowing and sucking, those things really strengthen your mouth as well.
yeah.
Hmm.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah.
I actually believe so much in all of this oral therapies.
Yes.
Um, yeah, because most of what I did with Mo, I mean, kind of like helped us to advance, kind of.
Hmm.
And yeah, we also did some oral, like lip tapping. I don't know, do you know about all of that? The lip tapping
You said,
exercise.
well, your phone is kind of breaking up. Say it one more time.
Talking about the lip tapping exercises as well, like the
Oh yeah.
oral massages.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Yeah, is Cree, having to, go through that at the moment?
At the moment, no, but when he was in feeding therapy, they did it all the time, and we had to do it as well. Just taking like our finger, rubbing the inside all around his lips. Yes, and in the
I
beginning, he
really
did
love that.
not like it. In the beginning, he didn't like it, but he got comfortable with it. But we really used the toothbrush and just like set it down for him to play with, and that really helped him. And then now he wants to put something in his mouth because before I would tell moms, like, as a mom, if there's a marble on the floor or a piece of food, they're like, oh, let's get it up because we don't want the baby to put it in their mouth and choke. And I used to joke and say, well, Cree is not going to put it in his mouth because he doesn't put anything in his mouth. But now we do have to watch him because when he was younger, he did not want to put anything in his mouth, toys or anything. So anything that you can kind of encourage tasting, I would just encourage a mom whose kid has who has a G tube and that's trying to work on feeding and their oral muscles. Don't stop feeding them. That's one thing I wish I was like more consistent of back then. But I would say it's gonna make you tired, but just keep offering it to them. Keep offering them food and keep offering them drinks the safest way possible.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. I really love what you
Yeah.
just said about the feeding therapy because I remember when Mo was a little bit younger, we focused more on
Hmm.
that. And it is through the feeding therapy, you'll be able to teach the child how to request for food. And
Hmm.
then there's the way you teach the child to take the food off the spoon, like
Hmm.
it's called a slop,
Yes.
right? And it doesn't have to be solids for starters,
Hmm.
right?
Yes.
So,
Soft
I mean,
foods.
yeah, I mean, so that is so interesting. It's interesting
Yeah.
to know that, you're trying to win him off the G
Hmm.
tube feeding. It's not
Yeah.
gonna be easy, but I know
You
that
got to
you
do
must
it.
have like, yeah, you have a routine, like maybe
Yes.
the kind of food he's gonna start with. Of
Hmm.
course, it's like pureed food,
Yes.
and I hope he does well with it. Yeah.
I hope
So,
so. I hope so.
was there any time you kind of felt like your son was being rejected?
Yeah, I would say initially when I first had him, or first even just found out about his diagnosis, the same day that I found out, I told everybody. Like I went on Facebook and I told Facebook because I was, oops, I'm sorry. I was not really like ashamed of it. I didn't have, I don't know what I was really feeling because it's kind of a blur, but it was like, I just wanted to let people know, like, I'm about to stand up for my child and I don't
Hmm.
want to hear anything negative.
Yeah.
I had only one family member that verbally said something to me. They were like, your child, like, basically said that people with Down syndrome are crazy. And they were like, no, my relative is not going to be crazy and da 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 da. We're just going to pray about it. And, that really, really upset
Right?
me. Yeah, prayed about it.
You
Said they were
get
going to pray
that?
about it.
You get it as well.
Yeah. So that was like the only non-supportive. family member, but it took me a while because the weeks following I had to like collect myself because I wanted to present information to them and just let them know, that Down syndrome can't be prayed away. I don't want you to pray it away. That's not, I just want you to pray that Cree is healthy, that Cree exceeds expectations, and that he just lives a great life. But don't pray that he doesn't have Down syndrome because I know that he
Exactly.
does.
Yeah. Don't pray
They were in
that you
denial.
want them to go away.
Yeah. Does that happen in Nigeria too?
A
Yeah.
lot of times, yeah. And people are fasting and praying, and sometimes people think the children need deliverances from like a demonic attack or something like
Yes.
that. I
Okay, so
bet
then
that.
I have a question. If Why do you think people continue praying in a way if it's never happened before? No, nobody's ever been able to pray the Down syndrome away. So why do people continuously do it, do you think?
Okay, why people? I think because people think that I really can't really answer that question. It's so confusing. Like
Yeah, it is. It's just like that's not what we
me,
should be
Kelly,
praying about? Like,
do you know? A pastor told me that um okay, yeah. So some people were praying for me and they said something like I needed to ask God for forgiveness, that I
mm,
must have disobeyed God at some point in
wow.
my life during the pregnancy or something like that. Yeah. Why people need to why would people still think they need to keep praying is because they don't understand what Down syndrome is as well.
Yeah, yes, yes. They
Yeah.
definitely don't understand what it is. And many, many years ago, people when they had a child with Down syndrome, they would put them like in nursing home or some kind of medical facility. They wouldn't really come around the families and um which a lot of people say here, like I don't know a lot of black people that have Down syndrome. And in the beginning I used to be like, you know what, I don't really know a lot of people either, but I've seen black people with Down syndrome before, so it wasn't shocking, but it was as if people were saying like, I didn't know black people had kids with Down syndrome. um here in America, for some people that's kind of shocking, but having this black families group is just so crazy because when I see how many numbers we have, like 725 people in the group, and I'm like, there are black people here. We do realize that a lot of um, times our community is not given the same type of information. Um, and even if we do get it, we get it kind of last. We get it in a way that is racist, discriminatory, and I feel like that causes some of our families kind of just to, I don't want to say go in hiding, but they don't shout it to the world that they have a family member with Down syndrome. It's kind of just like a quiet kind of secret. And at least that's how it was years ago. But I'm so happy that moms now are wanting to be an advocate for people with Down syndrome. Just that word advocate. I don't even, it's such a big word now because we have people with autism and we have
Mhm.
that advocacy community. But here in America, I was talking to a friend also. She is Mexican, and she was explaining how in her community that people that have Down syndrome, or if someone has a child that has any type of different ability, they're not really open in the community. They keep them at home. They're not really
Mm.
receiving services. And I do know a couple people that feel the same about therapies and stuff. Like they don't feel like their child needs that. But I kind of just feel like at the time, people are still kind of going through like a grieving process of what they thought their child was going to be. And so I really appreciate and loved the early learning that Cree received, the therapies that he received. I think it was very, very monumental in his success. But I do know that there are still some families in our community that feel like they don't really need it. What do you think? Or how is that in Nigeria?
In Nigeria, there isn't really, like I said, there's not enough information to tell you about this condition, and sometimes you don't even get to know, like, you must have gone from like one hospital to another, probably to the fifth hospital to see, or you'll be seeing a doctor then before the diagnosis comes.
Okay.
And then the first thing that happens is that people really are still trying to live in denial because of
Hmm.
the rejection, the
Yeah.
shame, the stigma, and sometimes families, women especially in Nigeria, are being blamed for having a child with Down syndrome or any type of
Okay.
disability. And
Yeah.
what happens is that the husband side or whatever family, the other family says something like, "We don't have this child in my family. It must be from you." And that is so confusing and heartbreaking. And
Yeah.
also, we realize that for the first 2 3 years, there is no help. And
Okay.
most of the families can't even get help.
Mm.
There are no priorities for them in the hospitals. Even some doctors will not want to talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, uh, and even if they tell some people will still live in denial. So denial is part of the greatest problems we have.
Hmm.
And early intervention just became kind of popular. Like, I remember 6 years ago when I went on Facebook, Instagram, and started talking about my daughter, started sharing a story. And because I got early intervention from the US, and I know that not everyone can get that kind of information. Not everybody will be able to get information
Hmm.
on early intervention, or, information on, things like support. There is support enough support, but there isn't enough support for early intervention. And like I said, for the first 3 years, for the most part, people are still trying to, like, you know, um, wake up from their dream. Like, is it true my child has Down
Yeah.
syndrome? And
Yes.
then sometimes you begin to see the kids from 3 years old, 4 years old, and you begin to see families trying to, accept the fact that this cannot be changed, it cannot be prayed away. And sometimes for the first 2 years, people are busy using herbs. Someone is also posting here that
Hmm.
we should take someone for natural root herbs and everything. I believe in herbs, but I am not saying that it can cure Down syndrome.
Yeah.
Of course, most of the medicine we take are from herbs, but
Yeah.
this is, I've heard of many parents that say that they've spent a lot of money trying to get herbs, and they were thinking like the Down syndrome would go away. And this is what they spent the first 3 years of their life, of the kid's life, trying to do,
Yeah.
trying to, delete the extra chromosome, trying to take the Down syndrome away, trying to cure the
Yeah.
Down syndrome. And this cannot be cured. And
Yeah.
this goes down to, us in the Nigerian community. And I think that was why that was why I just really told myself that I was gonna do this for the rest of my life, because I want my daughter to have, like, another chance at life. I
Mhm.
wanted people to accept her. I knew she wasn't alone in this, and I wanted many more people to come out. And that is
Yeah.
still what we're doing. That is why we're still talking about this today. Like, my child has Down syndrome, so what? Like,
Hmm.
seriously,
Yeah.
people to just understand that not everyone can be the same, or we all
Yes.
cannot be tall, we all cannot be short. And there are still many more types of disabilities. So
Yes.
Down syndrome is not the end of the world. It's not a death sentence. And so I really look forward to, like, it's really happening now. Like, I know, right? Because I get a lot of calls from younger children. I mean, I get to know when babies are born. Sadly, I get to know when they die, because there isn't, like, help
Yeah.
for immediate heart surgeries, immediate interventions. It's really, really sad. But I
Yeah.
mean, we've been able to reach out to many families, with babies. And though I know that a lot of people still are living in denial, and this is because the stress comes more from families, apart from the community. And the
Yeah.
baby they keep hiding the baby, not really, not intentionally, but because they're still trying to, like, come out of the
Yeah.
shock.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very few people do the prenatal test here in Nigeria, you know, and everybody in Nigeria, like, literally, it is in our culture. Everybody wants to have, like, perfect child. Like
Yeah.
when you say, when you see, okay, like I remember when my baby was small, I told my mom that when my baby was like 2 months old, my mom noticed that I began, all of the exercises I was doing with her. She was like, leave this baby alone. The baby doesn't have Down syndrome in Jesus'
Yes.
name. This baby has Down syndrome in Jesus' name. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I get it.
for the most part, we let religion just cloud all of the knowledge we should take away from situations, and
Yeah.
it's not like you just want to have a child with Down syndrome. It's just what sometimes you cannot like explain what
Yeah.
happens. So we're trying to let people know that you don't have to blame anybody for having a child with Down syndrome, and
Exactly.
it's okay to have Down syndrome. It's not a bad thing, and so
It's a
that
blessing.
eventually our kids can be safe on the streets. They can be accepted, they can be included, they can be given another chance.
Yeah.
They can be uh, supported in our
Yeah.
community. The
Yep.
most, but that has been so hard to communicate to our community, and that is why I'm bringing people like you on.
Yeah.
To listen to your story, and let people understand that Down syndrome is not caused by what a mother did during pregnancy or what she did not do. And Down
Exactly.
syndrome is not a respecter of tribe, culture, and
Yep.
anyone can have Down syndrome at any point in time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're
I
you're
really
so
want to know
right.
what, yeah, I really want to understand, okay, so let me ask you this question. Let me ask the question this way, like, why did you think that you wanted to, like, gather the Black community and impact their lives, the lives of their children, and encourage mothers like that are Black?
Yeah. When
What
when
inspiration?
when the opportunity came, I jumped right in because I had already noticed when being active in the Down syndrome community, I didn't see a lot of families that looked like mine, whether it was moms, dads, or even Cree. Oftentimes, we were the only one. When we lived in Virginia, we were with another Down syndrome community, and there were plenty of things that I went to, and we were the only Black family. And then when I first had Cree and we were living in Indiana, Gigi's was opening. It was brand new, but I didn't see. No, I actually did see one Black family. They were older, but it was just everybody was white, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it just made me stop and think, like, what is it? I see people online, not that many, but I see people online that have kids with Down syndrome. And when I look at my kids' school, I don't see Black people with Down syndrome. Like, what is really going on? And it just made me be aware that I need to be more aware of my community and who's in here. And we need to figure out how to get them to participate in activities, to get information out to them, and support them. Number one, I've seen it grow so much since having Cree, but I really, really love talking to new moms because it keeps you fresh and on your toes. Like, you hear so many stories of how they were presented the information, and good and bad, and it lets me know that the work that the Down syndrome community is doing is good work, because I'm hearing some moms say, oh, they connected me with DSGN, or they connected me with some other moms that have Down syndrome, or they told me about this book I should get, instead of how some people get stories that say, they told me I should have an abortion. They asked me multiple times if I was going to have an abortion. And I'm saying both of those stories happen so often, but my goal is to really just like shout Cree's worth and just show everybody what Down syndrome is. I think now I've had 3 people write me specifically that were pregnant with kids with Down syndrome, or were told they were going to have kids with Down syndrome. 2 actually did, and 1 didn't, but they were contemplating not keeping the pregnancy. And I'm always like, it's their choice, whatever. But they were just telling me that because I post so much about Cree and I share what I'm doing, that they were able to look at my child and me and say, you know, we're going to be all right. And I'm going to love my child, and my child is going to be able to do this and that, whether I'm sharing my family or sharing other families. But in the group, we came together because we wanted to work on things within our community and do bigger things in the Down syndrome community. But we know we have to address certain things. So we share our stories, whether that's our diagnosis story, our birth story. We share information about our local states and cities and what's going on there. We've been able to make different connections. So maybe before in Indiana, there was only 2 or 3 moms, but now we've made like a list where we have 20 moms on the page that are in Indiana. So we can get together on our own. We can, share information. It's just, you know,
And your
I feel,
hangouts?
say it again.
Do you have hangouts with moms?
So with DSDN, we have an annual Rockin' Mom retreat, is what it's called. And we didn't have it this year because it was in Colorado and COVID was going on. But we're going to have it next September, and it's going to be in Colorado again. So it's a yearly thing. But there are not a lot of African American, Black, Latino moms that come out. So that's one of our main goals, is to get those families to come to these events. Locally, people within the group have had their own little meetups, and they've met up with people that live with them, or they've joined a local GG's organization that's in their state. So we are making little connections, but we do have some plans for 2021 and beyond to have a big gathering. That's one of our ideas. And then we want to be able to have little small meetups as well. But it's important just so that you can see that you're not the only one. It's good to ask questions about your health, because we know that sometimes with Down syndrome, it can affect, or the percentages affect us differently than they do our white counterparts. Information is just not equally shared throughout the community. So, if there's one mom that gets a lot of information, she can, extend that information to somebody else. So it's really just like a portal to connect and to share information, and then just grow from there. We do have some great things in store, and I'm super, super excited. And I just talking to you, I have another idea that I'll share with you after, that I think that we could team up and do. But if you're watching this and you're in America, and you want to help with DSDN, we want to certainly be able to get you in helping. And you know what? I feel like if you're in Africa and you want to help, there's ways, because we have so many online positions within the organization where you can moderate a group. Like we recently did launch a DSD in Africa group. Are you in that group, Tola?
DSD in
Yeah.
Africa?
Are you in that group yet or no?
I think just joined.
Okay.
DSD in Africa?
Yeah, it's very new. I think I saw it like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So there's different ways that you can participate. So I would say wherever you are, if you're watching and you want to get active with DSDN, you can message me or Tola, and we can get connected and figure something out, because we want to make sure that we are reaching everyone, whether you're Black, white, Spanish, whatever. Like we just want everybody to get the same
And
information, and
yeah.
just build up our community, and just tell the world how great our kids are, because they really are great. And the more and more people are sharing, the more the stigmas will decrease, and the more we can affect medical change as well.
Thumbs up for you, Kelly.
Yeah.
This is amazing. You're doing so much.
I
How do
mean,
you how do you manage to do all of this?
well, people say that to me. I don't feel like I'm doing that much, but I would say that the work that I feel like I do, it's very touching. It's so like authentic and real, because most of the work I'm doing right now is just talking to moms on a daily basis. I'm connecting in those kind of ways. Whether it's serving on the board, that is a big thing, because it's like bringing a Black voice to the table where there may not be one. which is why I always feel like if somebody gives you the opportunity and you can fulfill it, go ahead and do it. Because sometimes in this community, you'll see organizations not have a lot of Black people on their boards, or not have Black people or minorities in positions of power. But our voices need to be heard. So I love that DSDN is doing that. GG's is doing that. My local organization is doing that. They want to be heard. And I feel like people are wanting to hear us now. So I really appreciate being on all the boards that I'm serving on, because it's giving me an opportunity to share my voice, but it's also allowing me to bring in other people, and just
Mm,
share a seat at the table with everybody, because I can't do it
amazing.
alone. You can't do it alone, but we have to be able to keep bringing people on so we can just get better and better and better.
Amazing. Yeah, I agree with you 100% that
Yeah.
we have to keep bringing people on because this is not a journey you want to walk alone.
At all.
It's there's no need going through this alone,
Yep.
and
Yep.
you'll never be alone if you work with people. I mean, yes, sometimes it can be lonely, and sometimes you could just like feel tired,
Mm-hmm.
but that's why we should be there for one another. And I
Yeah.
believe so in your dream and your
Yeah.
vision for the Down syndrome community.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to ask you my second to the last question.
Okay.
Where do you see Cree in the next, say, 10 years?
Ooh, let's see. In 10 years, he'll be 15, so he'll be a high schooler. So I see Cree just being super successful in school. I see him having such a bright personality, because he does now. But I could see Cree definitely as an advocate himself, like a self advocate. I could see
Mm,
him sharing his story. There's so many kids that are older now, and I look up to their parents. They have them in so many different activities, and that's what we want to do for Creed. We want to put him in so many things, let him find out what he really likes. I want him to enjoy his life and really do what makes him happy. So starting at this
yeah,
young age, we want to expose him to everything we can, whether it's acting, dancing, karate. I want him to excel in whatever he likes. Right now, he really loves basketball, and he's super, super good at it. So if I had to guess, I would think Cree in 10 years would be doing super great in school. He would be very social, playing basketball or helping on the basketball team. He'll definitely be eating. We're going to be off this G tube for sure.
yeah. I know, right? That's so amazing. Can I just tell
Yeah.
you that you need to go for this? Because one thing I've discovered working with persons with Down syndrome is
Uh
that
huh.
they are multi-talented, and a lot of people, we have not been able to tap to their resources, the resources they have. It's so
Yeah.
huge because they are
Yes.
visual learners and the model, they love to imitate a lot.
Yep.
All we want them to see should be everything good that they will benefit from and will be able to learn from. My
Mm-hmm.
daughter, I let her do everything she wants to do.
Yeah.
I don't even stop her. She
Uh
loves
huh.
to sweep, she loves to mop, she loves to cook,
Awesome. Letter.
um she loves basketball. And guess what, I had to get a coach.
Uh
Most all those things I try to mention, like ballet,
huh. Mm-hmm.
basketball. And she, like I said, she had early intervention, then we had some form of feeding therapy. I
Okay.
just let her do everything because
Yeah.
what I was afraid of was that if my daughter is not able to like be at her best, or be the best version of herself, my community is going to reject her, despite the fact that I presented her as a
Yeah.
normal child. Like, people use the
Yeah.
word normal.
Yeah.
Who really defines normal here? But
Yeah.
everyone says this is normal. Someone walked to me the other day and said, my daughter is not really normal, that I need to have another child, because my daughter's not going to be useful to me. And I'm like,
Oh wow.
you don't get me started, like,
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
why I love that I love that I'm educating my community
Yeah.
today. I love that a
Yeah.
lot of people are coming out like and accepting and embracing their
Mm-hmm.
kids, because the world just needs to see you embrace them, and the
Yeah.
world is waiting to
Yep.
see how far they can go. My
Yes,
daughter
they
loves
are
paint.
watching.
Yeah, my daughter loves painting. I just let her just do whatever it is she
Yeah.
wants to.
Yep.
And honestly, if they know that they have your under, I mean, they have your support, I mean, you have their back, they're
Yeah.
gonna go a long way. Like, and that's what we're
Yes.
trying to do. With the persons I support in my
Yeah.
foundation in Nigeria.
Yep.
And my question for you, Kelly, today is,
Yeah.
uh, what do you have to say to parents watching, especially should I say new parents? Not only new parents, generally parents. A lot of parents are tired already, and for those that didn't even get the kind of support their child needed at the onset, and probably have struggled to wherever point it is. Sometimes they're even stuck. Sometimes they don't even know how to move forward. And
Yeah.
so I just wanted to encourage parents because I know in America most teenagers with Down syndrome have jobs, they have
Mhm.
businesses,
Yep.
something, they have kind of support, they go to college. It's not really like that in Nigeria. So what advice do you have for parents struggling?
My biggest advice, and I've talked about it the whole time here, is community. I feel like you need to surround, when you don't feel like you have it all, I feel like you need to surround yourself with organizations like yours, organizations like DSDN, Gigi's Playhouse. Um, Find people that are living and going through the same thing as you, and create your own thing. Like sometimes you have to go at your own pace, and that's fine, but as long as you're continuing to move along, you're going to get somewhere. But it's when you stop that nothing is going to change. So just keep going. Sometimes you might have to take a break, but you got to keep going. That's why I love your organization so much and what you're doing for your community, because you are that place that people are trying to get to, and you're always there helping everybody that comes to you in that community, and it's a beautiful thing. So I would say community, it's super important. Make time for it. You can't just go there and just take some things you're going to give, and you're always giving back. That's the good thing about community, because a couple years ago, I wouldn't feel like, and even now, I don't feel like I'm a Down syndrome expert, but I learned from new moms, and new moms learn from me. And I'm learning from moms that have been doing this for years. So that's why community is so important, because you get to kind of look into the future by looking at other kids and moms that have already been through it. And then you can look to younger moms or newer moms, and you can share with them things that you wish you would have done differently. So community is what I would say. Build a community, whether it's a one person, that one person can turn into three people. So connect wherever you can, and speak up for your child, um, especially when it comes to medical issues. Speak up for your child, even if you feel like it's going to take a lot out of you, because doctors sometimes aren't going to push for really what's best. They're just going to push for what they feel like doing at the moment. If you feel like something is not going well, share that, because I feel like it's very important with our kids, because they can face a lot of medical issues sometimes. So speaking up, having a voice. If I don't know if in Africa you guys have this, in Nigeria, but if you feel like you need an advocate, that's the priceless thing about a community. Maybe another mom can come along with you to an appointment and voice some things to you that you can't typically do on your own. So community, that's the best and most beautiful thing I think about um, Down syndrome, is the community that I've built.
Wow. Let me recap. You said community is super important, so make time for it. And you said community is one of the best things that has happened, you
Yes.
know, to you since you had a child with Down syndrome, right?
Yes, for sure. Yes.
Amazing.
Um,
Thank you.
Say that
Go
again.
ahead. I said that is amazing, Kelly. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. I just want to say one more time. I know I keep talking about DSDM, but they're like the only organization that I know that has this. But again, we have over 50 Facebook groups. They're small. well, not all of them are small. We have over 50 groups. So if you have a kid, like we have the Africa group, we have an Asian group, we have a Black families group, we have birth years. So like Cree, he was born 2015. I'm in a group with all moms that have kids that were born in 2015. So if your kid was
Wow.
born in 2000, you can be in a group with moms that have kids born in 2000. And it's so great because that community shares a lot of different milestones. So you can, talk and see what's going on with other kids, ask questions. We have a group for dads. We have a group for kids that have hearing issues, vision issues. We have a IEP school group. So there are over 50 things. If you go to DSDN website, you can see all the list of the supportive groups. So that's why community is so important. And it's easy to kind of make time. Everybody's kind of already on social media. So just add a
Mhm.
couple groups and they'll come in handy whenever you have questions or you want to share something.
Wow. It's been so amazing for the past
Yes.
1 hour sharing my time with you, Kelly.
Thank you so much for having me.
You've really enlightened me, and I know everyone here feels the same way. Um, for the past 1 hour, I've had with me Kelly Kaufman. I hope I got that right.
Yeah, you did.
A wife and a mom of three, early childhood educator, podcaster. I want to come on your podcast soon,
I was
Kelly,
going to ask you that.
on mastering motherhood. Yeah, I listened to her a couple of times, and I'm like, Kelly's got this.
Well, thank you.
And yeah, I would like to. Okay, yeah, I love the fact that you're talking about motherhood because um, having a child with a disability is not like the normal parenting. You
Uh-huh.
need to be a bit more patient,
Yeah,
you know. And I know that this is gonna be like so inspiring for a lot of mothers. So
I
can
hope
you
so.
share your podcast links with me? I can share
Yeah,
it to.
so if you have Apple, I'm on Apple Podcasts, I'm on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Podbean. There's also Anchor. I'm all on anything that anywhere you listen to a podcast, you can just type in Unmastering Motherhood. You'll see my name, Kelli Caughman, and you can give me a link.
Okay,
And if you follow
good.
me on Instagram, I have the link in my bio as well, and you can see it there.
Okay. I hope you have fun in Indiana. Moving back to Indiana, I mean, moving to Indiana is a new environment for you altogether.
Yeah.
That you can continue to build the Down syndrome community in Indiana. And
Hmm.
I can see that you're volunteering for the Down syndrome Indiana. Such an amazing lady you are, Kelly.
Thank you so much.
You do for the Down syndrome community, and for the Down syndrome network. I mean, for Africa, what do you say?
The
Down
Black
syndrome.
Family,
I'm gonna
Down
look out
Syndrome
for that
Diagnosis
as well.
Network.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, you guys, thank you for joining. You've heard all from Kelly. She shared a story. She's encouraged mothers. We
Yeah.
talk back and forth, on conversations regarding Down syndrome in the U.S. versus Nigeria. And
Yeah.
for the most part, our kids can thrive. They can do very well if they get the kind of support that is needed.
Yeah.
Early intervention, feeding therapy, and all of the stuff we talked about. You
Yeah.
can please share the video after now because Kelly's gonna be off right now, and I want to say thank you for coming, Kelly.
Thank
I really,
you. Have a great day.
yes.
Bye.
For a moment, I thought you were in Minnesota for a moment, but
Oh no.
I guess you were
Indiana.
in Carolina, right?
I'm from South Carolina. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank
I
you.
will reach it out to you next time. We can
All
have
right.
this again, something else. Like then,
Yeah.
of course, talked about a collaboration. I'm open to
Yeah.
that.
Yes. I look
Yeah.
forward to it. Thank you.
Let's
Have
let's
a good
get
day.
talking. Let's get speaking. Let's continue to speak up for our kids
Yes, I
until
would love to.
yeah, until they can face the world. The world is kind of hostile, but I mean, I believe so much in the power of mothers, especially mothers.
Yes.
Of course, dads. If you
Yeah.
dads are coming out, in Nigeria as well, I'm
Okay.
super proud of them as well.
Good. Good.
So
Good. Good. Well, we'll
Thank
talk
you.
and catch up soon.
All right.
Thanks. Bye
Had a
bye.
nice time talking with you. Bye.
Bye.
So, everyone, you heard it from Kelli Caughman. What an amazing lady. What do you think? She shared a story about how Cree was diagnosed with Down syndrome and at 37 weeks. And also she shared about, Cree, using the G tube up until now is 5 years old. And I also mentioned to her that that is not so common in Nigeria, using the G tube feeding for babies with Down syndrome, especially from birth when they really need to um, have a good wait, because when sometimes at birth they have those heart diseases, and sometimes it looks like they're not going to thrive, and we get results like failure to thrive, and they're not able to eat or latch on the breast to suck and get enough food or enough nutrients that would aid their development. So the G tube helps to keep them, get enough food and more nutrition for their growth, even as tender as they may be as newborns with hypotonia, with heart disease and what have you. But you see, the G-tube feeding is what I think Nigeria needs to look into, because most of the time our babies do not, are very, very weak, some due to hypotonia and of course the heart diseases. But as long as they can get enough food using the G-tube, I don't think we need to be afraid. We have a long way to go in Nigeria, and that was Kelli Caughman from Indiana in the United States of America joining me for the past 1 hour. And I hope that you will be able to listen to this again. It's going to be saved on YouTube and on Facebook, so you can keep sharing. Thank you for joining us on the 11th episode of the series, My Child Has Down Syndrome. So freaking what? My name is Tola Makinde. Have a good week ahead. Bye.